My wife have cheated on me, but my wife 31 and I 31 have been in a wonderful relationship. We are madly in love with each other and have grown together for the past 8 years. She's always been a lightweight drinker, she's petite. And it came on full display this past weekend. I dropped her off at a club/pool party for BSHLOETTT. She took 4 shots with her friends at her house before I dropped her off at 12:30, and was in contact with her until 3ish. I had the husband's boyfriends over during the party around 7 p.m. The girls called and couldn't find her as they were leaving. They searched everywhere. I was forced to panic and call the cops when she wouldn't answer anyone's calls since 6:30. She walked into the house around 8 p.m. For the record, social media postings showed tons of drinking and wild behavior from the party. So what happened? I was so happy she was okay, but all I knew is she went missing from the group, so I was upset. Thinking the worst, she said she lost her phone and couldn't find the group, so she asked a guy for ridded with the time she arrived and when she was last seen. The story checks out, later confirmed by eyewitness. She admits she was very drunk and doesn't remember much. The guys decided to move over to our neighbor's house where the other girls from the party were. There was also a weird vibe from the guys. We arrived at the other house where my wife was confronted, saying there was a rumor that she made out with 3 guys. The girls pulled her into the other room and tried to confront the story, but it was hearsay from another girl. I at the time was sitting in a room with the guys, having no idea what was going on. We leave and she tells me about the rumor but says she doesn't remember. Needless to say, by far the most soul-crushing thing I've ever heard. I was very angry and very upset. We cried together all night. She was so upset and told her friends I wouldn't tolerate the behavior and this will end our marriage. Yes, I think flirting is bad. The stories changed the next morning to none of the girls sing a kiss. She was crying all day, so what I knew from the groom, he said something definitely happened and he gathered a range from extremely contagious with multiple guys holding hands, being all over a guy and kissing someone. All turned out to be true. At this point I'm in a traumatic state. I couldn't think clearly. The guy she flirted with the most was reached out to by one of the girls and he confirmed they only kissed a couple times and didn't make out. I still questioned what truly happened and if there was more with others. I'm pretty torn right now. Our relationship seemed too good to be true. There has been a history of her getting blacked out but rarely has affected our relationship. Most of the time myself or friends were with her. I obviously love her and care for her and her well-being, but I find this behavior very odd and it had to have lasted up to 3 hours, which she claims she barely remembers. She's been grieving and I've been a mess. Everyone is rooting for us, but I think a line has been crossed. Where I may not be the same husband, it's still fresh, so I can't say I forgive her. But I know trust is going to be a major issue moving forward. She promised to never drink again and never talk to another man when I'm not present. I don't really want that. It might help, but the truth is we're both struggling and I believe my perfect marriage is not ruined. I'm trying to work through this with her, but I have no idea if I'm making a mistake or if our marriage will be the same. Thoughts? No comment much from the community today on that one, so let us know what you think. I'm going to keep going. Wife is having an emotional affair and I feel like I finally see her true self. This will mostly be a rat, but any advice is more than welcome. After being with my wife for half of my life, I can't understand why she behaved the way she does. We have obviously been together for a long time and since a young age, so changing it to different people was always likely, if not inevitable. I know I will have to work to establish what my identity is without her and figure out the logistics of living alone. But those challenges don't distress me. In fact, I'm looking forward to them. Or hurts is how blatantly selfish she has become. I admit I have had my faults in the relationship, most a tendency to be too controlling with budgeting, but I have always been willing to talk, admit what I'm wrong and work to fix those faults. I don't yell and try to see her perspective. No matter what happens, she just pretends problems don't exist until I start the conversation. I used to think this was simply because she wanted to avoid conversation front, either because of how she used to hide stuff from her parents as a teenager or because I made myself seem unapproachable, and now think it's because she prefers to have her cake and eat it too. She is an exceptionally good liar and a people pleaser to art, and not just with me. She will tell people whatever they want to hear in the moment, seemingly with no intention of actually following up on whatever she promised. She's also a habitual liar that will tell strangers or acquaintances harmless things that just aren't true. Everyone can be guilty of this sometimes, but she Does it all the time, even in front of someone like me who know that's not true. It's taken me a long time to realize this is just her personality now and it may never change. She cheated on me before we were married and it should have ended then, but I hadn't no self-esteem at the time and was afraid of what life was like without her. We were both still in our early 20s, so I talked it up to being young and hurt. Not dealing well emotionally with some personal issues she had at the time. I've always been somewhat afraid that it may happen again, but I've honestly had no suspicions or paranoia until the past 12 months. I questioned her last year after seeing some suspicious search suggestions on a tablet, but she did not admit to anything. Things have been off since then, and I had at least 2 conversations where I straight up told her that if she wanted to end our marriage and date other people, to just tell me. It would hurt me, but not as much as her potentially dragging our marriage out for another 2 years, 10 years before I find out something happened. I told her I didn't want to go through the turmoil the last of her put me through, nor waste any more of our time as she was done. I just wanted to leave and make the divorce as easy as possible. After coming close to divorce last year, she insisted she wanted to work on things, and I thought things were genuinely improving until this last month, after finding proof of an emotional affair and her all but admitting it. We are finally yours, but again that wouldn't be happening unless I confronted her. She would have let this go on forever. For all I know, even now she still wants to say I love you and pretend as if we are still married. I'm currently trying to finish a degree before moving out of state to be with family, so we are separated but living together for the moment. Fortunately, we have separate bedrooms and the basement is basically my floor to escape to. I just wish she would stop pretending our marriage is intact while she has probably still talking to the fair partner. I can barely talk to her anymore because everything about her seems insufferable now, as if I am finally seeing her for the first time. I keep my cool in front of her, but I have the urge to hurt her in the way she has repeatedly hurt me emotionally, not physically. She can't have it both ways. And the fact that she is getting her way for the time being is what is driving me mad. She gets to stay in the house we pay for together while pursuing whatever. Going with the affair partner, the best way to get back at her would be to physically leave, but we have a mutually beneficial living situation at the moment. I would be shooting myself in the foot to do that right now. It will happen soon, and I comfort myself with the thought that she will finally get come up and I am not staying again, and I don't think she will actually realize it until I'm walking out the door. I've already cried about it. It's her turn. One quick off from the community before moving on. From Springfield 2016. As most self-centered people find out, life alone eventually becomes a lonely life. Of course, your wife is young enough and she will have no problems getting dates, but finding someone to put up with her habits won't be so easy. She may probably will hook up with her fair partner, but he already knows she's willing to cheat. As long as she treats her significant other as an ATM, she will not find happiness, move on, and have a better life. And one more quick story to round out this episode. Pretty sure boyfriend male 40 is cheating. I'm pregnant and I'm panicking. Okay, so I'm a 39 female 6 months pregnant, and my boyfriend 40 ma of 2.5 years is acting really shady lately. I'm pretty sure he's cheating, but I have no definite proof, only suspicions. Texting way more often than before, always locked in the bathroom with his cell phone, texting as soon as I leave the room and then stopping when I arrive. Seems way less interested to be in my company than before. Less sex etiquette. I talked to him about my suspicions and he brushed it off, swearing everything was all right. He found it almost funny and said it looked like paranoia, and it could be paranoia. I mean, my pregnancy hormones were making me a bit crazy. Clenol. He looked really honest. I talked about it a few more times because there was always some new behaviors, new clothes, new head, and more hiding while texting, asking, are you working at the office tomorrow? I regret bring you up the first time because I think can made things worse. He knows I